be here today. All right, and I think I'll kick things off. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's going to be phenomenal today, I promise you, right? This is one of the events that I will personally love to attend as well, because I know these people, they are friends, they are colleagues, they are family, they're people that I continuously learn from. And I'll throw a quick story in. Gunjo, you probably don't remember, in my early days in consulting, I remember one time I was in panic mode, serious panic mode, and I could not resolve an issue. And
Hmm.
I called you and I said, Gunju, I'm about to lose my job. Like, you have to help me. So these are people that I run to, seek advice from, to ask to help me. So I want you to take your notes, the pen. You're going to learn a lot. These are senior executives. They are leaders in their field. They have been through, every flavor of issue that you're currently going through. So I guarantee you that you will learn a lot from them. So what I'll do is I'll turn it over to them in 1 minute. Starting from Miss Kanayo, would you please introduce yourself in a quick, short minute?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kanayo Carey. I'm a healthcare administrator. I've been working in the healthcare field for about probably over 15 or 17 years now. Prior to that, I worked as a tax consultant with the Big Six company and also worked with SAP with ERP solutions. So I've I've been around the block and done quite a few things in my career. Really good to meet you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And next, I will, if you don't mind, I'll go with the ladies first, okay? Mr. Gunju. So I'll go with Miss Lawrence. Go ahead, Miss Lawrence. In 1 minute, please introduce yourself.
There may be an echo. Is there an echo?
Am I echoing?
No, I'm
I,
asking because
no, you're
in
not
good,
echoing.
okay,
You're
in
not.
good measure, I'm doing Plan B, so I'm on the phone and I'm getting my computer restarted. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if you guys can see me on camera, but everything has frozen. But it's okay. We're still here. We'll proceed with the plan. I'm so very excited to be here with you all. My name is Laurence Anguille, and similar to Miss Canayo, I've also been working with companies and consulting in technology for the past 2 decades. And I am excited to bring my perspective in terms of this conversation about, maybe switching to a different field into cybersecurity or technology in perspective. And throughout my career or across the years, I've worn different hats, project manager, strategic advisor. So I've seen a lot of what would you say, working with different types of talent. And essentially, I want to bring that perspective into this conversation. And also sideline in terms of, I know the weather has been kind of crazy for a lot of you guys that are on the East Coast, but essentially, I absolutely love traveling, and that's something that I do for fun, and just wanted to inject that there for a little bit of energy for you all. And with that said, I'll pass it on back to you for the next speaker.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Mr. Gunju, you're up.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Gunju Olawale, and I live in Atlanta. I've been all over the place in terms of work. I've worked in SAP with the Big Four Consulting, worked with software, used to work actually with the first company in the world to create online banking. So I worked with them for quite a while and then transitioned to other companies, other software companies. Did some telecoms from way back in Nigeria, was responsible for the Coca-Cola Lagos to Atlanta wide area network. But about, I would say probably 15, 20 years ago, I shifted gears and moved into business consulting. Worked at Deloitte, KPMG, and a few other companies. And about 13 years ago, I switched gears again and joined a smaller software consulting firm. And now I manage the professional services group, which involves everything from pre-sales through sales and leading large engagements, customer retention. So Happy to bring all of that to the table today. We'll be talking about the kinds of talents that, what we look for, when we're recruiting. Also at Deloitte, I was in charge of campus recruitment. I don't know if you know that, Tyler. So I've been around the block in HR related activity for a while. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so lucky. Honestly, I would say we're so lucky because, like I said earlier, these are some people that I, even in my career right now, I go back to, I call them, I seek their advice on different things. And it's scary, Kanayo. You don't remember? The other day I was joking with you and I said, will you hire me? Because you were talking about, oh, you wanted to hire some people. And you were like, no, I'm not trying to hire you. So I'm telling you, if I'm trying to get these people to hire me, these are some people that you definitely want to hear their perspective, right? So with that said, I don't want to waste too much time this evening. A lot of you already know me. If you don't know me, I'll tell you where to find me. So I want to go right into some of the questions that, number one, have been submitted and some questions that we've pulled together rather, and we wanted to just hear the perspective of our panelists. So I do encourage you. It's going to take the format that the last one took the last time we did that, which was in December. We're going to spend 20, 30 minutes just asking them very pertinent and relevant questions. And then after that, we'll send them off to um, a breakout room where you would all get to come off your mics and ask them one-on-one questions. Please, this came back because there was a lot of, you know, um, interest. People really liked this format. So I want you to, remove every distraction, listen to what they're saying because we can all learn from them. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to start with the gentleman first. So if you don't mind, Gunju, you're going to be on the spot first. All right.
Okay.
So the first question I have for you is how important is storytelling during interviews? What does a good answer sound like versus a forgettable one?
All right. So it's definitely very, very important because that's your opportunity to convince me that you belong with my organization or the role that you're interviewing for. You could answer questions very vaguely. That won't go very far. For example, if someone asks what you did on your last role and you just say, something like I was a PM, I was in charge of budgeting costs, that doesn't tell a story. And that doesn't tell me exactly what you do. So the more you tell me stories around what it is you've done, what difficulties you faced, how you came out of those difficulties, the more I'm able to understand what it is you're doing. And one thing I have to look for when I'm sure everyone, when we talk to candidates, is I have to be able to go to my management team and tell them something unique about you, something that you've done, something that we're looking for. So when you do the storytelling, that tells us a lot more than textbook type answers. So anyone can read up on a job description and just give vague answers. But the key differentiator is when you make it believable, when what you're saying resonates with me and I can visualize that happening. So a forgettable example would be I was responsible for managing projects, worked with stakeholders, ensuring deadlines were met. Right? Sounds very textbooky type of response. A good answer will show me challenges you faced on the project, right? If you on a project for a year plus, I assume there's some change management that has to happen, getting user buy-in, getting people to want to do the work, how you navigated all of that will be very essential. So, for example, I could say we had a project, we're behind for 3 weeks or 3 months on that project. Leadership was losing confidence on the project. I realized the issue wasn't that we weren't putting in enough effort, but there was no clear ownership of that work, right? And then you restructure the work into smaller deliverables, do your assignments, single thread owners, and everything you did to resolve that problem will be essential. So the interviewer will learn how you think under pressure. That's what we're looking for, not just answers. They will learn how you diagnose problems, how you influence people. Like getting user buy-in takes a lot of influence. Talking to different groups, explaining what they'll learn by using this software or using these new processes, the business impact of your decisions, being able to quantify what your decisions led to, you know, and ultimately making me feel that you're someone that I can put in front of my boss or in front of a client.
Awesome. Awesome. I hope you guys were taking notes, okay? Because I took notes, and some of the things he said that caught my attention is give specific answers about what you do, right? He said, what is a key differentiator that is believable, so, and that resonates with him, right? So learn how you think. He said, because hiring managers want to learn how you diagnose a problem, okay? So don't just give very generic answers. That is easy to do, right? And again, the more and more and more you practice, the more you practice it with your friends, the more you do. I think it also gets better with time, but nobody has time for you to, we don't want you to have to go through interviewing with 20, 30 different companies before you finally figure it out. And that's why we're bringing these professionals here so that you can hear it from the experts that are constantly hiring for their organizations, and you can learn how to do it better. Okay. So I do want you guys to take notes, because this will be really, really help you as you go along interviewing. Miss Kanai, are you ready for me? All
Yes.
right. So I have a question for you. And the question is, have you ever interviewed someone who looked perfect on paper, but still didn't get selected? What usually made a difference? And I'm smiling because you and I talked about this just a few days ago. So I'm curious to hear what other examples that you have to share.
Yes, yes. So there are a myriad of factors that could prevent someone from being hired. One of them, the most important one, is communication or the lack of it. So not being able to properly articulate their value proposition to the interviewer is a problem. So you want to be able, you need to know who you are and what your innate strengths are and what you bring to the table and be able to articulate it. I always tell applicants to look at it as in what's in it for them being the employer. What are you bringing to them? What are you going to offer them rather than a what's in it for me? You already know what's in it for you. So communication. The other factor could be that maybe they're not a good cultural fit. So cultural fit goes both ways. It goes both ways. You're evaluating the company, and the company is also evaluating you. So you might be a great worker, but maybe that's just not the environment for you. And the kind of questions that you want to ask yourself is, will this be a great work environment for me? Will I be able to do my best work here? And if it's not a good fit, at any point in the interview process, you can actually gracefully withdraw. If you go to a couple of interviews and you feel like this isn't quite it, it's okay to call them and say, I'm going to move on to other opportunities. Thank you for the opportunity. But those are some factors that could influence someone being perfect on paper and not being hired.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this does come through during the interview process, right? Like you
Mhm.
said, if a person is not able to provide what their value proposition is, it's a big deal, because a lot of people know how to clearly introduce themselves. And the last time you and I were talking, some people get too chatty. Like they're asking you a question from the moment you walk in till you leave that room, you're being interviewed.
Mhm.
Even if they ask to go to lunch with you, you're still being interviewed. They're still interviewing, checking you out to see if you're a big fit for their team. So keep in mind, communication is a big one, and cultural fit, right? Like she said, cultural fit goes both ways. They look at you, they're like, okay, this person is maybe not, this person might be too uptight, or this person is too relaxed, so it has to be that balance for a hiring manager. So again, keep that in mind when you are interviewing or, looking for a job or moving to another role within a different organization. So I know Miss Lawrence was having a problem with her laptop. Are you here? Let me know if you're here. Can you speak up?
Yes, I am.
Awesome, Miss Lawrence. Awesome, awesome. So I have a question for you. And the question is, at what point in the hiring process do strong candidates most often lose momentum? Resume stage, first interview, final round, and why?
That's a great question. And actually, it's going to be a thread from some of the answers actually that my fellow panel members already mentioned. But the way I've seen it, from my experience, every single stage of an interview is actually an area where you can lose momentum. So you can get too comfortable. But typically speaking, it's essentially the first stage because around the first stage is where people or hiring managers are having the conversations around filtering the candidates. And what I've seen essentially in terms of how candidates lose momentum, it has a lot to do with communication. And like Tilly, what you just mentioned, when you're doing the interview, you don't want to get overly casual. It doesn't really matter whether someone is inviting you for lunch. But case of the matter is, you want to make sure you stay formal, not casual, and also think in terms of the questions that are being asked. How do you weave those into a story? So, for instance, I've had interviews where you're asking candidates, "Oh, tell me about yourself." The people aren't really interested about, what you're doing for fun or how many dogs you have. What they're looking for, what they want to hear is, okay, did I actually select this person? Yes, it's the first stage, but you need to remind them that, oh, actually, yeah, I remember now why actually I'm having this conversation with this person, because there are key things on their resume that I've seen, right, that I want to hear. And you want to weave this into the role, right? So when they're telling you, again, what have you done? And you're talking about your resume, you don't want to make it go through a list or a bulleted list of items of things that you've done, right? You're going to be losing them. And essentially, that is an area where I see a lot of people fumbling and losing essentially the interview, right? Because again, this isn't the matter of just checking off what you've done on your resume in the first stage interview, but it's really being precise into creating that story, reminding them of the things that you've done in a way that's relevant to the position that you're actually interviewing for. So the one thing also I want to look at something that, and maybe some of you guys might have heard it, I've experienced it on both ends. Before working for big four companies, I was in the industry. And I remember one of my first interviews, they were like, "Oh, we're going to interview you. And, have you heard of the STAR method?" I was like, "No, what is that?" And they stated that, well, our interview process is going to be based on the STAR, which is situation, task, action, and result. So when they're asking you, or when we're asking you questions during the interview, and we can, expand on that, just don't want to take too much time, but essentially just remember that acronym, and it weaves in again with what Kanayo mentioned, and also what our other panel member just mentioned in terms of that storytelling, very important. So back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So Miss Lawrence shared some very important nuggets with us, right? Again, the common thread with everybody, with all the panelists is how can you explain what you've done and how it is relevant to the role? For example, and I know this is the most, I think, nonsensical example ever. If you're a farmer and they're introducing you for a cyber role, somebody tell me how farming is important to cyber role, right? So whatever you do, right? And I'm not knocking the farmers, God bless the farmers, right? But I'm just saying, how can you weave it together? Perhaps they're saying they need a team player. In farming, you were such a good team player because you were putting the seed on the ground, somebody was covering the dirt. So maybe instead of talking about farming, you say, hey, I'm a good team player. I was able to work, so those are some of the things that you have to really, really think. And you have to think on your feet and think about how the job description was written and how some of the things that you've done play into that job description. That is the only way that it can resonate with a hiring manager. Because if you talk about something completely off and different, they're just going to be looking at you that, interesting story, but how does that help me? Right. So remember that and think about some of your answers when you're interviewing. Really quickly, let's keep it moving.
So, so you're talking about transferable skills.
Transferable skills, exactly. So really quickly, let's keep moving things along. And I'm going to start with you, Kanayo, if you don't mind. I'm just going to move it, shuffle it around again. And the next question we have is, have you ever interviewed someone who looked, well, that was the question I asked, right?
Yes.
From your experience, what's one mistake you see great candidates make that cost them the role, sometimes without them even realizing it?
Oh, I'll give you more than one. So, not actively listening to the interviewer's question is could be problematic. You want your responses to be concise and to actually answer the question. Some people give long-winded answers and you lose your audience in the process. It's actually okay to pause before responding. And if you get asked a question that you're not prepared for, then wing it. Wing it as best you can. I advise candidates to build a repository of interview questions. So every time you go for an interview, go jot down the questions that you were given, and then go back to those questions and keep building on it every time you interview. And then go back to those questions and work on the ones that you had difficulty answering and rehearse it thoroughly until you can do it in a quick elevator speech without thinking. So that's really important. I want to let you know that you are operating from a position of strength because no one can tell your story better than you can. The only thing these people know about you is what you put on paper, and then you get to bring life to it. So, not actively listening, sharing too much information, too much personal information, also is it actually makes the interviewer or the audience uncomfortable because instinctively you start to think, what will this person do with company information that they're privy to? Will they be tactful with it? So those are two mistakes that can cost you a position. And of course, a lot of the interviews that I've been involved in are behavioral type interviews, where it's like, give me an example of when you did this, or tell me about something that happened. And in those cases, there's no right or wrong answer. They really are looking for, what was your approach? How did you handle it? How did you resolve the issue? What was your thinking process? And what was your level of self awareness as you went through that?
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys actively listening. Sometimes you have to practice this, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
come easy for a lot of us because a lot of us, including me, we like to hear ourselves talk. But when you're interviewing, you have to actively listen because if you don't listen very well and you don't understand the question, how are you going to answer it? Right? It's just common sense, right? So make sure you listen actively so you're able to form your response based on the questions that is being asked. Okay. Like I said, take notes. If you have follow-on questions, we can try to answer those questions. I see that there's a lot of activity going on in the chat. I'm not able to respond to those right now, but I have someone looking at those questions. And if there are questions or comments, I'll get to the question at a later date or maybe post something within our community, within our group. But keep the questions coming, keep the discussion coming, but I also want you to listen. Okay. So the next question is from Mr. Gunju. All right, Mr. Gunju. This one I know you have a lot of. Let's talk confidence. What is the difference between confidence that works and confidence that backfires?
Okay. Let's start with confidence that works. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll start by saying it's quiet, it's grounded, and it's evidence-based. Right. So take, for example, a salesperson. Doesn't matter if you went to Harvard or any school or you went to UI, you know, if you come in and say, if I join your company, I'm guaranteeing 500 million in sales in 2 months. right? Because I did X, Y, and Z with these other companies. These clients are ready to go with me wherever I go, things like that. So it's evidence-based. It's not just talk, right? And you can you can tie yourself to that. You can say, just put me on trial for 2 months, something like that. So now bring it back to the IT world. When you're talking about things you've done, your confidence will show in telling the interviewer how you approached the projects or the task at hand, what you learned from it, and if you had to do it all over again, what you'll do differently. Right? Confidence that fails all the time is when you sound like you did everything perfectly. No mistakes. If you had to redo it all over again, there's nothing for you to change. Right? So, and that's kind of confidence, the good one, shows your thinking process even when things are not perfect. Right. The confidence that backfires a lot of time is defensive. Like a common interview question is, tell us some challenges you faced, or somewhere you failed at. And a lot of people try to turn that around and only speak positively. That's not always the case in IT world, right? You'll face challenging clients. You can pick one. It doesn't have to sound so bad, but you need to have one in your back pocket that you can say, this is what happened on so and so projects on this company, and this is what you did to fix it. And if you had to do it again, this is what you'll do. And then questions may come up. You never want to say things like, that really wasn't your fault, or I don't struggle with that. You want to word, just go with facts. Go with facts, go with things that happened. Those are always easier stories to tell because one, you've lived through it. Two, it shows, right? Even from you preparing for an interview, right? When you prepare very, very well, it shows in your confidence when you're speaking with the interviewer. Personally, I mean, it's been a while for me, but personally, I would research if the HR or whoever contacts me sends me the names of the guys that will interview me, I will research them. I will look on their LinkedIn, know their last jobs. I'll be able to ask them what they think about their current job as compared to their last job. If they still think it's a good idea that they moved, things like that. So your preparation shows, and that's all part of confidence. So it's not about sounding impressive. It's more about sounding believable, connecting with the person. And then also, when you do your research, I'm digressing a little bit now, but when you do your research, when you look at your interviewer's LinkedIn profile, you might have to interview with multiple people. A specific person, when you look at what they've done over the years, that can guide you towards what you should prepare for, right? If you're going in for a technical role and someone non-technical is interviewing you, for example, you can be sure it's going to be mostly behavioral questions, situational questions, not more about how do you implement software specifically. So all of your research and everything you do leading to the interview that prepares you will show when you're interviewing.
Thank you.
Now, too much confidence, especially if it's not backed with facts, gets people rejected, right? Because there's some silent red flags. We're always wondering, will this person listen if we hire them? Will they want to just go off on their own and do their own thing if they think they know it all? Will they take feedback? Will they escalate to us or hide issues as they arise? We want to make sure that whoever is coming on board is manageable, one knows their stuff, explains to us and shows us through storytelling and everything else that they belong here. They can do this and they've done it before, or at least they can do it. And they'll be a team player. So just to wrap that up, the confidence that we get you hired has to be specific, reflective, and honest, right? Not pretending that you're flawless. Back to you, Tyler.
Okay. So put a pin on that, okay? Because I'm going to just go off script now and ask you a question.
Okay.
And anybody can take this, okay? So the people in this community, they're part of our community. And I've told them that, I've often shared with as many of them as I've spoken one-on-one to me that I want to be 100%, right, with them. Okay. There's a question that a very good person that I recently spoke to, not calling names, she had a question for me. And I have not been in that situation in a long time because I have upwards of 2 decades working in corporate America. But I want either of you can take this question off the script. I know I did not prepare you for this, but I just thought about it while he was talking about honesty. And the question was, a lot of the people within my community, this community that is now your community too, are either changing jobs, immigrants, different situations, right? And they're maybe from healthcare, they're moving into tech. From ERP, they're going to cyber. From cloud, they're going crisscrossing, right? People are trying to find that comfort zone. Either of you three can tell me what you think. Do you think it is okay for people to embellish a little bit their resume and what they've done just so they can get their next role? Embellishing means putting a fictitious company, putting a fictitious work that you've done, right? What do you think about that? And have you run into that situation before? I have my opinion, but it doesn't matter. I want to hear from you.
I'm going to answer it a different way, then I'm sure KK will put a spin on it and
And
Ellen as
Lawrence will
well.
put her spin on it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer it a different way. I'm going to say you have to be able to defend what's on your resume. 100%, right? Especially for me when I do like campus recruitment where we go in and bring people from, you know, all sorts of different schools, MBAs and all that. We can't go with much because they don't have any experience at all, right? So we're going based on what they said they know and what they've done, their course study and things like that. So they've got to be able to defend it. So if you say you know Excel, um, Microsoft Excel, for example, and I say on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think you are? And you say you're a 9. All right, good. Then I've got real questions for you, right? And you better be able to answer them. So, a long while back, I'll give another example. I worked with a company called SITA, SITA. They're in charge of airline telecoms, everything related to airline telecoms, right? And I interviewed someone many years back, and he had SITA on his resume from a different country. So I was excited. Like, hey, here's my alumni. Let's talk about and then the first question I asked him was, for how long did he use Citatex, right? And that's their major software. And he didn't know what that was. Right. So that already just killed, the whole process. So if something is going to be on your resume, you need to know it inside out. So it's hard to tell people what to put on their resume because, again, we're in a country where you hear things like you don't have any US experience or you don't have this experience or that experience. You can study, you can do whatever you need to do, but if it's on your resume, you gotta know it inside out.
Miss Kanai or Miss Lawrence, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
So I would discourage embellishing. And the reason is the technology is so advanced now that there are a lot of ways to verify information that you share, even down to they can trace what IP addresses you're communicating from. I would rather suggest that you go find volunteer opportunities to actually do some of that work, or register for a class in a community college, or reach out to someone who's already in the field, or you have to get really creative to get your foot in the door. I've changed careers 3 times, and each time I didn't know I was new. I didn't have the requisite experience, but I really sold my transferable skills that we talked about before. Based on what I've done before, here's why I think I can do this. And I did a lot of internships. I did volunteer work. So I'll just say, if you get caught in an untruth, it just damages your credibility, and then it's downhill from there. So I know it's difficult, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And this is part of what Edgeworks does to help to refine and to guide you so you can get those skills to, get your foot in the door. Difficult, challenging, but not impossible.
Amazing. What about Miss Lawrence?
I think I'll give a good consulting answer that it depends. But I think with either approach, you just have to be mindful of the consequences, because one approach of embellishing, like Mr. Gunju said, will be very detrimental if you get caught. And is it going to be worthwhile to you getting a slump in terms of you starting that career and your reputation being damaged? You have to make the call. But most importantly, I think the key thing is, especially for those of you who are, okay, well, I haven't maybe done cybersecurity, or I'm trying to get into technology, really becoming creative and really being intentional about, okay, what are the skills that today I am currently doing that I can transfer? Right? Like, what can I use and leverage into this new endeavor, this new industry? And you will be surprised that there are many things that you could actually translate. Now, I will also add this because I think both of the other panelists have already answered that in depth, but I will say, for me, if I'm interviewing someone and I'm seeing, like, I think Mr. Gunju gave the example of Excel. If on your resume, you're saying that you have expertise in a particular topic, I'm going to want you to be able to give me evidence of that in the stories you tell me, how it reflects in the actual project or the actual work you've done, right? So not just say, oh yeah, I know Excel, but how do you demonstrate? How have you used that? And sometimes it's very hard to do that when you are embellishing or when you really don't have that true experience. So again, be prepared. If you know that, okay, Excel, yes, I like that example that, hey, I'm a 9 at Excel in terms of upper skill. You have to be diligent, and it becomes your responsibility, if you do get hired, to really carry that knowledge onward. So you shouldn't be the one then, after you've gotten hired, to go ask the employer for help on that topic, right? Because you've totally killed it. But basically, you become responsible to ensure that you're going to be very proficient at that skill, and you're going to get yourself all the resources available within your capability, within your influence, to ensure that you remain proficient and you really successful tackle that skill set. So I will just end with that.
Okay. And I'm just going to spend the rest of the few minutes before we go through the next round of questions to share my experience. So I am vehemently against embellishing. And I'll tell you why. Because I've been beaten, right? I was that one person that thought, if I'm leaving company A and going to company B, I should be able to get $40,000. I didn't embellish skills, but I said, there's got to be some dollars that I can pad to my old dollars that would help me create that bump that I wanted to get to the next place. And we're being honest, right? We're being honest. So I'm sharing with you my honest to God experience. And that's why I don't necessarily support or encourage it. So in my situation, true life situation, a few people here may know that story. Maybe not this group of professionals, but in my circle, other people are aware of the story. So I was moving from one company to another. And what the common theme is, oh, you should be able to get $20,000 more, $30,000 more. So when I was writing my salary in the form, in the, what is it called, application, they asked me, what was your last salary, right? And I added to it. What I didn't realize is there is a tool called The Works. Just like Miss Kanayo said, there are so many tools and people can find out things about you. Apparently, the works is where a lot of companies that participate in, that pay for that service, all they need is your social security number, right? They plug in your social security number. It will outline everywhere you've worked, how much social security has been withheld, and that's where they do employment verification. So, funny story. So I didn't realize that my last salary was there for the whole world to see. So the lady came back, the HR lady. I had gotten the job. She was just doing the last bit of it. So she came back and said, what? She said, can you show me your W-2? Because what I'm seeing coming back from the verification is different from what you're telling me. Instantly, I knew I was caught. There was just no going back. Like I knew that I had written something that was untrue. And so she was like, and they rescinded the offer. That's the true life story that happened to me. They rescinded the offer. They said they were not able to verify. And so they're taking the offer back. So be very careful, just like they all said, skill, if you say you can do something, make sure you can do it, because you don't want a situation where the person you're talking to is an expert in that thing that you're asking. You never know, right? You tell them all of a sudden, oh, I know how to do cloud, AWS, I'm certified, I'm this and this, and a bag of chips. Now they go in because this guy is the one teaching AWS for the entire Amazon. You don't know, right? And then so you've got to be very careful, making sure whatever you say, whatever you have on your resume, you can fully back the story. So thank you so much for that answer. And I'm sorry I threw a curveball in there, but I thought about it once, we started getting into the conversation. So my next question would be for Miss Lawrence. Miss Lawrence, you're ready for me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So what's one thing candidates think matter in an interview that actually doesn't matter as much as they believe?
That's a great question. From what I've seen, and I've experienced that as well, it's thinking that you need to give a perfect answer, or that it would be frowned upon you negatively if you say you don't know something. But then I'm going to expand on that, because when I'm interviewing someone, I don't want the first answer that comes out of their mouth is, oh, I don't know this. Like that would be a negative flag, right? You may not know, but there's a way to get to that. But you don't have to have a perfect answer, right? So it's not really about what you say or saying the right thing. I want to quantify that, but it's really, how are you, because you want to look at the interview process as a problem you're solving for the person that you're having the conversation with, right? So you want to deconstruct it as, okay, what is it here that I'm solving and how will I tackle it? So what we're looking for, what people also look for is, how is the applicant going through that thought process? And we talked about communication and active skills, really listening to what's being asked so that your answers can really accurately address what's being asked, right? So again, it's not really about having this rehearsed perfect answer, if that makes sense. And then even it's totally okay if, if the question is being asked, you can take a pause and really think about it. It doesn't have to be a knee-jerk reaction that, okay, the minute we ask the question, this perfect answer has to somehow emanate from you. No, right? So I think a lot of candidates don't necessarily know that fact, or they think, okay, yeah, I'm going to get to the interview because I'm going to have these robotic perfect answers. And if I say I'm unsure of something, that means I'm totally out, which isn't true. But again, I think for my experience, what I've seen, again, I said it a little bit earlier, the first thing when I ask the question shouldn't be, I don't know. What I advise and what I've also used on my own for myself, and what I've coached and mentored other people to apply, is try to think of something that might be similar, right? So, and I don't want to get too technical into details, but try to use an example that can relate to what it is that they're asking, and say, hey, well, it's not exactly this same scenario, but this is what I've seen happen, this is what I've experienced, and this is what I've seen done. And in a scenario such as this, where you don't have the answer, this is how I would tackle it, if that makes sense, right? And then again, this is where you want to make sure that those stories come alive and you're being authentic, right? And you sound very sincere in your answers. And I think that's key. And from an interview her perspective, we pick up on those details, right? Somebody being genuine, somebody actually showing that they're thinking through the conversation and the questions that are being asked, right? And they're being tactical about how they're answering it, and being also candid in the cases where, they may not have that perfect answer, if that makes sense.
Awesome. It does make a lot of sense. Thank you. Be genuine, right? Because if you're and like she said, there are ways that you can say you don't know something, but you can say, hey, in scenarios, I've seen this applied this way or that way, you know, because we've all been, the panelists and myself have all gone through, the Big Four training. It's something that is innate. It just comes natural to you. You haven't, you can say, I've been worked closely to that, don't just be honest that you don't know, but there's a way you can kind of just weave your way around answering some of those questions, right? So keep that in mind. Miss Kanayo, I have a question coming up for you.
I just want to add to what you said. If they ask you a question that you don't know, you could say, I haven't done this, but this is what I would do if I was presented with this scenario.
Yeah, I love
Okay.
that. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that as well, but
Yes, please.
especially in the software industry, right? You hear all sort of, Microsoft Dynamics, SAP, all these different names, right? And if you're learning something, one software, you need to know what the rival softwares are because you're not gonna know all of them. But just knowing their name, if someone says, "Have you done Oracle Finance?" You could say no, but I work in SAP Finance. It's the same thing. The work you're trying to achieve is the same. You want the same outcome, right? And it's relatable because you know the business processes is just a different tool. So you can talk about how you would have done it in SAP and let them know that it's a transferable skill to Oracle. Also, I'll just throw this out there. Before the interview, especially with Big Four, I would say all my interviews with all Big Fours, I was not surprised by any question. You have to do a lot of research out there. If you use things like Glassdoor, Vault.com, even the internet, right? Just Google, let's say you're interviewing at Deloitte for SAP consultant, SAP interview questions at Deloitte worldwide. You see, by the time you go through 200 questions preparing for that, it's going to be very hard to get asked a question that you have no idea about. So your preparation is key, right? You got to prepare for each role as if, you know, if you don't get the role and you had to go back and interview, there's nothing else for you to prepare. You got your first chance. You got to know that you touched everything and you couldn't have done better. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but not because you weren't prepared.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So Miss Kanayo, ready now?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to lump two questions into one for you, and then I'll do the same with Lawrence, and then we'll go in our breakout room because I know they're itching to ask you questions and to have one-on-one time with all of you. So for your question, what I have is, what are candidates doing in interviews that immediately raise a red flag, even if their skills are solid? Hold that thought. The other question that I want you to touch on briefly is someone saying, how can they turn their experience into interview stories? Like people struggle, creating a story in a good way that flows during an interview. How can you help us, break that down and help our attendees today?
Okay. So red flags. I think we've all touched on this. Talking too much, not being concise, not listening actively, and then also how they describe their interaction with other people or with former employees tells me a lot about them. And it kind of, if they've treated someone a certain way, chances are under certain circumstances that behavior is going to repeat. And they're not having basic technology skills. I've interviewed people where they said, "Oh, there was something and I couldn't come on camera." That's a red flag for me. If you can function, if you can figure out how to get on Teams or Zoom and get on camera and figure it out before the interview, I would be worried about that. So those are some red flags. Again, a lot of this information I'm sharing is not novel. It's, if you Google, you can find a lot of this information online. The second part of the question, you said, remind me again.
Okay. How can you turn your experience into story?
So
Into a
yes,
story.
so storytelling is a learned art, and you get better at it the more you practice. If you have the opportunity to be mentored by someone, or someone you can practice with, or someone who's in a hiring position who can mentor you, that would be perfect. But it is a learned art. So for me, I describe myself as a high functioning introvert. So, I had to learn how to pretend to be an extrovert. So I've taken lots of communication classes. I've joined organizations where I had to talk. In my current job, I present to the board, actually several boards, several times a month, and I had to get really comfortable with the discomfort of doing it. So it's a learned art, and I ask you to go learn how to tell your story and bring yourself to it. Bring your personality and your authenticity when you're talking about whatever your experience was.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I noticed someone had their hand raised. You're not able to ask a question in this forum, but we're going in the break room in another 2 minutes. So hold your thought and hold that question. Trust me, you'll have a chance to unleash, ask all the questions you want. Okay. So just be patient. I just have one more question for Miss Lawrence, and then you can all ask your question. But has this been helpful? I want to see some emojis. Are you guys learning? Are you guys loving the feedback? Awesome. Thank you so much. That is encouraging from the one person that thought this was helpful. Thank you, Agnes. Yes, I see that. I see that. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Miss Lawrence, you're ready? The last
Yes, I am.
question. Okay, so let's make this strong, okay? So here's the question. And it's a two-part question for you as well. If you could give one piece of advice to a strong candidate who keeps getting interviews but no offers, what will it be? Hold that thought. The second question is, how can someone break into consulting or the tech industry?
Okay. So for the first question about the one piece of advice I would give if someone keeps getting interviews, I'll say that there's some good news, which is that your resume is probably strong enough to get you into an interview. But if you're not getting offers, it goes back to something actually that Miss Canayo mentioned in terms of preparation. And I don't want to say rehearsing, but the practice aspect of you delivering your story. Okay. And with that, again, there's no perfect answer because it's not the sexiest or glamorous answer of, okay, do this and do that. But I would really recommend and encourage everyone or anyone who's actually facing this conundrum to get help, reach out to the Edgeworks and, get those one-on-one sessions and practice, right? Because again, your resume is getting you into the door and you're not getting offers. There's something that's happening in the interview process that you need to master. So that's what I would say. Just switch that mindset in terms of, you don't look at it as a failure, but say, okay, well, my resume is able to get me into the house. So how do I get to, empower that storytelling and that whole experience so that now I become in control and I'm getting these offers. So that's what I would say. Now, the second question in terms of how to get into consulting, that one is going to be an interesting one for me to answer. And I will be also looking at some of the panelists to provide their feedback. I would say getting into consulting really takes preparation. It takes networking. I think for me personally, coming from industry, I never really understood the power and the art of networking. And, I just thought, you just work hard, keep your head down, and things will work out. But consulting isn't so. There's many more skills that you need to master. And actually, one of the ones that we've been talking about ad nauseum actually on this call has been communication. And in consulting, regardless whether you're going to be operating in the technical capacity or if you're going to be predominantly client facing, communication becomes key, and also mastering some of those technical skills. Like Mr. Gunju said, you have to have the awareness of what's going on. You may not have all the answers, but kind of know, okay, when I'm doing an implementation or when the project starts, what are the different phases, right? What are the typical tasks that the team is going to be engaging in, right? So you may not need to know how to configure, the financial ledger or create master data. Those are just examples from an SAP standpoint of view. So let's not get caught into that. But just being aware from a consulting standpoint of view of what are those milestones that the project goes into when it comes to implementing a specific software. I think that will take you very, very far. I would say, depending on whether, again, you're going to want to be more technically centric or you want to be more client facing, I think that's absolutely key, and mastering that communication aspect as well.
I
So
love that.
those are the things I will say are very important and quintessential from my perspective to get into consulting.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. Yes. The people in consulting, trust me, when you get there, they're not special. We have all been in consulting, trust me. So we know that
Actually, they're
they're not.
special.
No, what I mean is
They
everybody
tell
can be
you,
in consulting.
the firm tells you you're special, and after a while, you have to believe that.
You have to believe that you're special. Exactly. So if that is your dream, trust me, networking is key though. Because even after you get into consulting, to stay relevant in consulting, networking is what will take you from stage 1 to stage 2. So with that said, thank you all for staying here. Don't go. We're going to move everyone. We want you guys to have the opportunity to ask them questions. There's so much more to share. After that, I have some announcements, and then we will wrap up for the evening. So I would let Omari share with us who will be in breakout room 1, breakout room 2, and breakout room 3. Or if you just type it in the chat window, that's fine. However you want to do this.
Okay. Hi everyone. I hope you're having a great time. We are creating the groups right now, and you can just join automatically, but for breakout room 1, we have Miss Kanayo. For breakout room 2, we have Miss Laurence, and for 3, we have Mr. Olawale. So please just join any group that you'd like to. Room 1.
Room 1 is Miss Kanayo. Room
Kanayo,
2,
yeah.
room 2 is Miss Laurence, right?
Yes.
Okay, and room 3 is Mr. Gunju. Sorry, excuse me. So join whatever room you want to join. And if you have a problem, if you stay here, we'll move you to what room you want to join. Can they move from one room to another real quick, Omari?
Yes, I think so. But I'm currently assigning. It seems like we have a lot of people in room 1, so I'm assigning to other rooms to ensure that it's a bit balanced out, and then people could move if they also want to.
Okay. So can you go ahead and move? Go
May I
ahead.
ask how long are the breakout sessions?
So the breakout session is going to be for another 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then 25 minutes, we'll wrap up because it's supposed to be for 90 minutes. So we're done at 7:30 Central Time. Okay. So everybody go to your breakout rooms. Please get to meet these people. This is also part of networking. So don't leave this forum and just log off for the day. This is networking, and it is important for you to ask whatever question has been bothering you about why you haven't gotten a role, or if you're trying to transition from one role to another, or even move up, right, in your career, this is your chance to do so. Okay. All right. Thank you. And she'll put the panelists, she'll put you in a room as well. Let me see if she started creating the rooms.
The rooms are already created.
Okay, so
I'm
are you
just
adding?
Yeah. The rooms are now open, so people could join room 1, room 2.
Okay.
3. Yeah.
So I'm
Awesome.
seeing a join breakout room on my screen. Do I need to do that?
1 second. I would.
She'll assign you.
Okay.
Yes. I would assign you. You already in. Okay. So people are joining the rooms. I'm trying to find you. Move to room 3. Yes, you're there now. Ellie. 1 second.
So I'll join the room 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We could just over around. Okay. 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 Oh. Okay. Okay. It keeps moving. So move to room 1. Yes. Everyone is assigned.
Amari, do I need to join room 1 or am I assigned automatically? Are you assigning me?
You're already in room 1. I added it to room 1 just now.
Okay, because there's a pop-up on the screen that's saying Tilly is inviting you to join room 1. So should I click on
Yes,
join?
you're in room 1. And I'm
Okay.
doing that again just so you're already in room 1. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do I need to click on join?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
All right.
Mary, can you assign me into a new group? I don't have the pop-up on my phone.
Okay, 1 second. I'm trying to find your name. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's Celine. Celine.
All right, all right. So you're already in room 1 though. You just have to. Okay, I'll take you to room 2 now.
Okay.
The pop-up is supposed to show up on your screen and then you join.
I see 2 people here.
Marianne.
Well, actually more than 2 people.
Yes,
Should I?
so I've assigned everyone, but they need to click on join.
Okay, if you guys can hear Omari, can you click on join? Can you please click on join so you can join the room? Can you guys hear me? Maybe. Okay, somebody said done.
No, I'm the one that said
Oh,
so sometimes some people will have their phones on and not be with the phone. So
exactly.
that may be the case.
That might be
So
the case. Exactly. Okay. So I'm going to
everyone,
go and check. I'm going to go and check Lawrence in her breakout room.
okay.
Lawrence is in breakout room 2.
Yes. I'll stay here to troubleshoot for a minute and then after a while I'll over around. Um, Hi everyone. Yeah, Mr. Olu Jones and Mr. Oluwadare, you please let me know if you need help. But you've already been assigned to groups, so please join your groups. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, hi. You've already been assigned, Olu Jones, you've already been assigned to a group. Can you join the group?
Oh, Mari, could you transfer me to the breakout room too? My computer keeps getting disconnected and it kicks me out.
Oh, okay. I'm doing that now. Program room 2. I just did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. We're waiting for the others to join. Welcome back. We hope you had a good time in your breakout rooms. Quick one before everyone gets here. If you're yet to follow Edgeworks on Instagram, the link is on the chat. Please, you could just tap on it and it will take you to our Instagram page where you can enjoy some of our bite-sized content that are relevant to you. We may also address some of the questions you've asked also on Instagram. So if you're not following, now will be a good time too. The link, I will just repost that now while we wait for others to join in, others to get back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
All
know
right.
there were so many questions that we didn't get a chance to answer. What I would say is, just like Omari said, if there are very pressing questions that you have specifically from either of any of our panelists, just send it to us, email it to us, and we'll try to get their perspective, or we'll try to get you the question. We'll try to get the questions answered for you. And before everybody joins, is everybody back, Omari? Not quiet?
Yes, yes.
Everyone is back.
Everybody's back. Okay, I have a few more announcements in 3 minutes and we'll be done. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope this was helpful. By popular demand, we noticed that you guys all loved this type of, we're actually calling it a career clinic because we noticed that you guys really loved it the last 2 times we had it. Thank you for all of those emojis. And I'm really, really grateful to, my panelists. Like I said, they're beyond colleagues and family to me. These are people that I absolutely I have immense respect for because they've achieved so much. And, they have really, really helped me along the way in my career as well. So if you have any questions, please send us an email and we will respond. If you're not part of our WhatsApp group, I encourage you to join. Omari will be posting that so that you join. I posted a poll last week, and that poll drove me to invite the next panelist that we have. I noticed we have a bunch of people from cybersecurity. I was able to land you guys. I don't have a date yet, but I hope this will excite you. I was able to get you a C-level executive at an oil company in Houston to come to the next session. I don't have a date yet because I'm trying to patch him down. He used to be my client and he became a very good friend of mine. And, I told him about what we're doing and he's super duper excited. So I know my cyber people, it's a lot of you guys, and I know you want to hear from him. Trust me. He's stuck somewhere because of the weather. So once he confirms a date, we have all the flyers and everything ready already to go. We will send out registration early. You don't have to be cyber alone to benefit from some of the insights he'll be sharing. But the reason why I wanted to bring him is for someone that was able to rise to that level of being a C-suite executive at an oil and gas company, he definitely has a lot to share on how he did it, what he did. We'll provide enough time so you guys can ask your questions. So please join us on all of our social follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, YouTube. Omar will put all of that up. So please make sure, and if you're not part of our WhatsApp community, you can make sure you join that community as well. And just to add to that, I joined a few rooms and I noticed there were so many questions about, they're not they're people that have been laid off, or they don't have visibility, they don't know what to do. There are so many services that we offer. You guys don't come. A lot of people are just sitting in their own corners. They're not getting the help that you need, that they need. What I would like to share with you is that we do offer a lot of service. We offer resume review and updates, LinkedIn optimization, interview preparation, coaching. check out our website. You'll see all the services that we offer. We'll continue to do this career clinic once every month, just so you guys can have an opportunity to see some of these people. You don't know them because they are all working in different places. For instance, Miss Kanayo and Miss Lawrence are not even in Texas, they're in California. Mr. Gunju is in Georgia. Your paths may never cross, but because I have a broad network, having worked with them and just meeting them because of the number of years I've spent in corporate America. I'm able to have more reach, and I'm able to invite people to come and just talk to us free. So invite people, follow us, make sure you participate, don't hide, show up. There's hope for everyone. Trust me, it's not hopeless. You haven't worked for 1 year, it's not hopeless. Okay. So just get your resume, get all the help that you need to get. The help is out there, but make sure that you reach out for the help. So thank you so much for joining. And to my panelists, thank you so much. Even for the people that I called at the last minute, Mr. Gunju, thank you so much for agreeing and making time to be here. Thank you so much. See you guys next month. We will publish the dates. Please follow us and have a good evening, everybody.
All right. Take care. All
right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.